Hello all, this is S.Vasuki from Computer Science and Engineering Department. So in this video we are going to discuss about database management system. So under the topics are views, triggers, joins, constraints and storage procedure. So in previous video we have discussed about the concept of views. So now we are going to discuss about the triggers and joins, constraints and storage procedure. So this views we are already discussed in the previous video, so that's why we are directly moving on to this trigger concept. So this SQL trigger, so it is one of the stored procedure in database, so that automatically invokes whenever a special event occurs in the database. For example, if we are change any information over to the database means, so that time, that fraction of instant of time is called as a triggered data, so that is called as an SQL trigger. So how it is achieved means with the help of SQL commands, so that will be happen, the changes will be happened over to the database. So by using SQL triggers, developers can automate tasks and also ensure data consistency. Consistency is nothing but, for example, if I am transferring an amount from one person to another person means, so before and after transaction the whole amount should be retained in the same value. So then only it is called as a consistent data. So that should be maintained in SQL trigger and keep accurate records of a database activities. So whenever we are change a small changes over to the table means, that should be permanently reflected in the database. The next, for example, a trigger can be invoked when row is inserted into a specified table or when specific table columns are updated over to the database. So this is called as an SQL triggers. Then next one, SQL features, trigger features. So first one is automatic execution, then event driven and table association. So in automatic execution, it should be automatically process the commands called insertion, updation and deletion over to the database. Then next one, event driven. Triggers are tied a specific event that take place within a database. Then third one is a table association. So this is linked to a specific table or view and operates whenever changes are made to the table's data. So that is will be represented as a table association. So this is the syntax for creating the SQL trigger. So we have to here the trigger name is called as an user defined name. The next one, create trigger name before and after insert, update, delete operation, so that will be reflected over to the database. And table name, for each row we should begin and end semicolon. So likewise the trigger will be processed. Then next one, trigger name. So here trigger terms, so it consisting of nearby 6 key terms are used. So one is trigger name, then before and after, then insert, update, delete, table name for each row, then trigger body. So first one is a trigger name, the name of the trigger to be created, and it is a user defined one. We can create our own trigger name. The next one, before and after, it specifies whether the trigger is fired before or after the triggering the event insert, update, delete. The next, these three kind of operations are that will be acting as a triggers. The reason is we can update or we can delete or we can insert for the database, which means the some changes will be made over to the database. So that's why it is called as an SQL trigger. Then next one is a table name. The name of the table is triggered associated with each row. The next one is a trigger body. It indicates the trigger is a low level and meaning it executes one for each affecting row. The next one is the trigger body. The SQL statements to be executed when the trigger is fired. So this is the example of DDL trigger. So in data definition language, commands create table, create view, drop table, then drop view and alter table. So that causes the data definition language triggers will be activated. So here one example is provided. Create trigger prevent table creation on database for create table, alter table or drop table as begin. Then print you cannot create or drop or alter over to the database. After that we have to roll back, then end. Thank you.